One topic that always seems to be popular throughout time is guilty pleasures. Now, it never fails. People are always interested in what bad movies, music, or in this case, video games that you actually enjoy. What's up, folks? My name is Tanner, and today I'm going to kick off my new series, but I'm going to do a list of 5 instead of 10 for this video just to see how it's perceived. Now, what are my 5 guilty pleasure games? Well, let's dive in. And if you enjoy this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. At number 5, we have Thief 2014. Now, Thief was a mixed bag of candies. I mean, Steam seems to rather enjoy it, but critics felt this game was something to pass on, saying the story and characters were dull, had no real gripping moments for us gamers. Then they mentioned how the gameplay felt clunky, petty, just bad overall, with the focus of it being targeted at how you traverse the world of Thief. The map and how you get around didn't sit well with so many people saying it was just boring. Now, for me, all of that doesn't matter. Now, of course, if I were going to review this title, I would hold my biasism, but I'd still express it to y'all. But overall, I love this game. Sure, the story wasn't the best, but that's not why I played it. I enjoyed the gameplay, and I had a blast sneaking around from rooftop to rooftop, burgling houses, and not to mention the chase scenes you'd have with the local laws. They weren't the best, but they did create some awesome escape scenarios. Another thing I think this game doesn't get enough applaud for is the actual burgling. Like, some of the ways you obtain these codes for safes is outside the box thinking. My favorite example I have is the asylum mission. I'm pretty sure if you played it, you remember it. At the end, there's a safe, and the code is correlated with a patient knocking on the wall. Now, I'm not going to lie, it took me 3 playthroughs to figure out what the hell that code was, and whenever I finally got it, I felt stupid, but then again, it was smart. It was outside the box, like I said. At number 4, we have Ancestors, A Humankind Odyssey. Now, whenever we caught wind that one of the developers from Prince of Persia and the original Assassin's Creed was creating a survival game based on the evolution of human beings, most people were excited. I know I was. It sounded like a fresh palette that we all needed. Now, that is until the game released, and then the reviews came out throwing this game in the dirt. Most critics agreed that it was a boring game that really had no fun mechanics to it. Make a stick, pound some rocks. I don't know what they expected. I don't know what anyone expected, but I was not expecting a Planet of the Apes survival game. Granted, that would be awesome, but this was not it. This was definitely something a little bit more boring, so it made sense. However, I found a lot of interest in this title. It was unique in my eyes. It was slow and not helpful. Yeah, that is true. The tutorial absolutely helps you none, if I'm being honest, but being a gamer for many years, the trial and error idea just comes naturally. So when it comes to this title, it was perfect. You mess up, you die, you move on to the next in your bloodline, and then you be more careful. Death also isn't so bad because it gives your offspring some perks. They learn from your death, and you learn from their death as well. It was also interesting how they handled the exploration. Any area you weren't familiar with caused your screen to go gray, and then the sounds intensified because the unknown is scary. So you found a vantage point to scout out the area to familiarize yourself with it. You were starting from the bottom of the chain, and I think this game does a grand job showcasing that. This game was a neat concept, and I'll even own up, yeah, it's not the best execution. It definitely could have been better, but for what we have, I enjoy it, and hopefully we can get more survival games like it, not overly complex, but still requires a bit of understanding and skill. Coming in at number 3, I have Anthem. Yeah, I know this game was, to some, the epitome of failure. The game lacks so much from in-game content with about 4 strike-esque things we could do. One of them was a final boss, it really was 3. Gameplay we were never promised. E3 footage that was never in the game. The loot was whack. The whole system was whack. This game had mess written all over it. But for me, I can't bash it as bad as everyone else. Otherwise, I'm a hypocrite because I built my character up to Grandmaster 3. So I had some time in this game, about 70 hours, and I had fun. Aside from the sloppy mess of a story and the lack of content, I'd still pop in this game just to fly around and dive in the water and swim around in it, which is something I personally think is underrated about this game. The water gameplay is so damn good. Sure, you don't fight in it, but the visuals in the water, they were jaw-dropping. Actually, I found the design of this game overall to be quite jaw-dropping. It was a good-looking game with a neat design that was just fun to sightsee in. As for the combat, it really felt no different than most games. It's a third-person shooter with abilities. How could you not have fun flying around killing enemies, mini-bosses, etc.? The real complaint with this game for me and most other people I talk to, it's just the lack of work done after the release of the game, and now it's being terminated. But one thing it does have going for it is it lasted longer than Disintegration. Number 2, I'm going to have a lot of people split, and I know it. Cyberpunk 2077. Despite the hate that this game gets, and we all know the hate it gets, the buggiest game to have ever released, the graphics aren't good, GTA 4 physics are better, etc., etc. Now, I agree for most of that, although I do love the graphics for what they are. I understand it. It was an underwhelming game for a lot of people that had high hopes. I too had a higher bar for this game than delivered, but I refused to let any of that dampen my experience. I had bugs, I had crashes, all of that, but I kept going, and to this day, it's still my favorite story in any game, and I thought the writing was just masterful. Now, for me personally, if a story is that good, I'm going to push through it. I don't care how many times I crash, I'm going to learn that story. As for the gameplay, what can I say? I had a blast during the firefights, melee battles, and sure, the driving was bugged, but I still somehow found enjoyment. I found fun to have wherever this game took me, and like I said, I realized it was not what we expected, but I waited just as long as everyone else, and I was not about to let that time go down the drain. I didn't care how buggy it was, I was going to have fun regardless, and I did, and I still do. And of course, today there's been a lot of updates to this game. I mean, hundreds of bug fixes, but they still do have a long way to go to have this game where they wanted it on release. Number 1. Now, I rewrote this one several times. I initially had Friday the 13th as it stands today, right now. To me, that made sense, but to others, it probably wouldn't, as my experience on PC is a whole hell of a lot different than something like, let's say, Switch. So I decided to do the next one that made sense. Predator Hunting Grounds. When this game released, I couldn't contain my excitement. Friday the 13th to this day is still one of my favorite multiplayer experiences, so of course I'm going to be excited for Illphonic's next project, especially considering I'm a huge Predator fan. Then it happened. I played my first match day 2 because the servers were so bad on day 1. The bugs came in. The graphics were comparable to a kid taking some Crayolas to a book. It was messy. The Predator was weak or overpowered, never an in-between. Missions were repetitive. I don't know, you name it, and this game just seemed to have whatever not up to par. However, through all that mess, I became addicted. I'm almost level 50. Going to every mission just as excited as the last. I don't care if I'm hacking the same terminal as I did the last game. That's not where my enjoyment comes in. Mine comes in with every Predator player plays different. Some were distant and others came at you like a madman windmilling you. This always kept me on my toes, which allowed me to enjoy the game more. And that's not to mention the dumb AI that were just fun to kill for the hell of it. This game also had some neat mechanics, like covering yourself in mud to hide your body's heat from the Predator. Granted, if you just watched the first film, you would realize that us, the fans, would have wanted that mechanic in there anyways. As for the Predator gameplay, I don't think I could imagine it differently other than polishing it up. That's all I would personally ask for. But executing the humans, that was a bloody good time. Eating hogs to heal yourself, this game thought of most things to keep the game interesting. Just it wasn't executed the way we would have liked to have seen it. And lastly, the game also had quite the neat customization menu that allowed you to customize the Predator. I mean, the head of the Predator, the skin color, the armor, the weapons, and same goes for your mercenaries. Good game? No, but fuck it. I still love it. And there it is, folks, my 5 guilty pleasure games. I can name many more, so hopefully you all enjoy this and I can keep doing the series. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you have any suggestions or requests, be sure to pop in those comments or hop in the Discord. That's where I got this idea from. And that's all I got, folks. Till next time.